It's a good day if you're excited about the upcoming EA Sports College Football 25 game. We got a ton of news that dropped today, both from ESPN, from EA themselves, from people on Twitter who are announcing they're officially in the game. We got so much info to cover today, and I'm excited to talk about it. Now, last week we got the teaser trailer for this game, and they said that the full reveal would come in May, and that's still happening. That's when we're going to get the first real trailer, when we're going to get probably the cover, the release date, and some of the features talked about a little more in depth. But that's not stopping us from getting a ton of extra info early, and today there's been a ton of info that has hit the internet that I know many of you are going to be excited about. Now, if you're new to this channel and you want to always be up to date on all of the official news for the upcoming college football game, especially the early gameplay, which at some point I probably will be one of the people with early gameplay, as I do have a relationship with EA, make sure to subscribe and turn the bell icon on so you never miss any of these important videos when they go live. So this morning started out with the EA Sports College Football official Twitter page posting another little bit of a teaser that said, "They're in the game. College Football 25 will feature all 134 FBS schools." Now, we kind of already knew that that was going to be the case, but it's nice to see confirmation and a little bit of a teaser, and we've seen tons of schools today posting officially that they're in the game. From the big institutions down to some of the smaller ones, they are all posting. If you go look at any FBS school's Twitter page, they likely have a post today about being in EA Sports College Football. So it's good to see that, more confirmation that all of our favorite teams are going to be in the game. Now, along with that, a new article hit ESPN today that dove a little deeper into some of the things we can expect with this game, and we definitely found out some new and exciting information, and we also found out a couple of things that I would consider a bit of a bummer, but not a complete deal breaker, as these are things that might not make it into the game this year, but will probably be in the game the following year. So let's dive into this ESPN article, and then we're going to get into some more exciting info as well that we found out on Twitter about this game. So it said, EA Sports College Football is close to returning after a hiatus lasting over a decade, with the game slated to come out this summer. On Thursday, EA Sports explained to ESPN its name, image, and likeness plan for the first version of the game. Every athlete who opts into the game and has his NIL used will get $600 and a copy of the game as a baseline payment, with potential for more lucrative NIL opportunities. In addition, EA Sports revealed other details about the game itself. As previously reported, Dynasty Mode will return, meaning you can navigate your school through years of recruiting to try and build or maintain a powerhouse. So will other features last seen in NCAA 14. So for example, Road to Glory, we know that's going to be back. We know an Ultimate Team is going to be in there in some way, shape, or form as well, because it was also in NCAA 14. So the next thing that this article goes over is the name, image, and likeness, and it asks, will NIL be part of the game too? And it says here, actually, yes, there will be name, image, and likeness components in Dynasty and Road to Glory modes. Dynasty is where you take over a college football program. Road to Glory involves guiding an individual player through their college career. If you think about representing what's happening in the sport, when we talk about things like Dynasty and Road to Glory, there's new ways to recruit, there's transfer portals, there's NIL, there's a lot of things to think about, said Daryl Holt, EA Sports Senior Vice President and Group General Manager of EA Tiburon. That has really added to the complexity and the intrigue of the sport that we want to make sure is there for our players. Holt wouldn't go into exact detail about how EA Sports is planning on implementing the transfer portal and the NIL, just that they'll be in the game. It looks like there will be at least some representation to force players to make decisions that will affect their program building in Dynasty Mode, or what happens with their individual player in Road to Glory. Now, that's a good tidbit of information that had been teased and rumored, but now they officially confirmed that it's in the game, and those are things we're going to find out a lot more about in May. When they say full reveal during May, those are the things they're going to go deeper on. They're going to explain exactly how NIL is going to work. They're going to explain exactly how the transfer portal is going to work, and they're going to basically preview the game and let you know what you can expect to encounter when playing the game. But for now, they're still just going to tease things, and they're not going to go too deep on it until we get to May. Now, we're going to continue on with some more exciting and important information that we learned today, but really quickly, I do want to shout out today's video sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is my favorite fantasy app on the planet, but the best part about them is their pick'em game. Basically, what you do is you pick higher or lower on a wide variety of player stats, and if you get them right, you can win some big money. But the best part about Underdog Fantasy is they'll always give you a free play at sign up to help you win some money. So for example, during NBA season, they're going to give you a random player anytime you sign up, and all that player has to do is get a single point. So for example, tonight, they're going to give you Steph Curry to get a single point. Friday night, they're going to give you Jason Tatum. Next week, they're going to give you Nikola Jokic. There'll always be a play just like this to help you win some money out of the gate. And on top of that, if you sign up using my promo code RAY, R-A-Y, they're going to double your first deposit up to $100. So you can get $100 free to play with, and you just can't beat that. The next thing they talked about in this article was conference alignment, and they said that'll also be in the game. EA Sports said all 134 FBS teams will be in the game, as will the 12-team college football playoff and every bowl game. Holt said customization will be allowed because in reality, we've seen the college landscape change enough that one never knows how that will occur. It's not clear how much customization and what exactly that will look like. One thing that will not be customizable, if a player chooses not to be included in the game, he will not be able to be created in the game by users, although Holt wouldn't say how they would prevent that, only that it will not be allowed. Holt said the focus is FBS for year one, but they're expecting adding to this project and program as they go forward. In other words, 134 teams, 10 FBS conferences, and the Heisman Trophy will all be there, just not the lower levels of football such as FCS yet. Some of it has to do with the undertaking of building out the game from scratch, adding 134 schools with unique uniforms, traditions, stadiums, player NIL features, and more is a massive undertaking, and there's only so much they can do. So to dive a little bit deeper on that part right there, basically, these are all kind of things that were expected. We thought that maybe FCS teams could be in because we saw some schools kind of teasing it, but it appears that that's something that's going to come at a later date because right now their biggest focus is making sure they have every FBS school represented correctly with all their traditions and the things that make those schools what they are, and then they're attempting to get over 11,000 players licensed. Those are the most important things that people are going to care about, are those two aspects, and they have to make sure all of that's ready to go, and some of this other stuff is going to come either like in an update or it'll be a year 2 thing, which we know they're going to need reasons to sell the game down the line. We know this is going to be a yearly release, so they're not going to give us every single thing in year 1, but they're giving us the most important stuff up front. In terms of not being able to create a player that opts out of being in the game, that makes sense basically just for legal reasons. That's why the game went away in the first place, because the people in the game, even though they didn't have real names, they still looked like the real life counterparts, and that's why the game had to go away. So, for example, let's just say Travis Hunter doesn't opt into the game. Now, he obviously will. He's probably going to be the cover athlete if I had to guess, but let's say he opted out of the game. Well, for Colorado, you probably would not be able to create a player whose name is Travis Hunter. If you're creating a receiver or a cornerback, because he plays both positions, you might not be able to use the number 12, for example. I don't know exactly how they're going to go about this. I'm sure they're not going to let you use the name of somebody who opts out, but people are going to find workarounds for this, of course, but they're not going to make it easy for you to replicate somebody that doesn't sign their likeness over to the game because they can get sued if that happens. Continuing on in this article here, they ask about coaches. Will real coaches be in the game? And it says here, real life coaches like Kirby Smart or Lane Kiffin will not be in EA Sports College Football 25. Holt said the focus has been on the players, the schools, and their traditions in this version of the game. It doesn't mean coaches are forever going to be out of the game. Sean O'Brien, EA Sports Vice President of Business Development, told ESPN the company is considering ways to offer coaches the opportunity to opt in beyond year 1. Coaches are a really good example as the figureheads of their schools. Because we believe there's a real impact to gameplay or to product differentiation that you could be a coach, have a different type of schedule, have a different type of recruiting philosophy, have a different type of gameplay and play style. So there's an interesting way of doing that in a similar way to the athletes. No real way of doing that very easily. O'Brien and EA Sports could possibly broaden things in the future, just not yet. So we're not getting real coaches in year 1, much like FCS teams. Those are things that we're going to probably see in year 2, but they're definitely going to come to the game at some point. But again, the biggest things about this game are making sure you have the major schools and you have them represented correctly, and you have all of the athletes and the players and the people that, you know, the customers are going to want to play with when they're playing with the game. They're going to want to play with Shedeur Sanders and those kind of people. Those are the things that's most important. In year 2, we're going to start seeing them flesh things out more likely, like the coaches and the FCS and just some of the smaller details that they couldn't get in for year 1. Now, here's an important bit of information. It says if coaches aren't there, what about the play styles and the playbooks? And they said this goes back to the game and program integrity. Holt said the focus is to make sure teams in the game play like teams do in real life. You almost could say there's 134 different ways to play because of the nuances of the different programs from off-field recruiting to on-field play. That includes the play styles of each team, which meant building out new plays and sets to match formations in the game. Holt said the plan is to show that wide open aspect of explosive gameplay in college football, which can be vastly different from the NFL. So while we won't have real coaches, you're still going to see certain teams have the playbooks that you would expect them to have based on what they do in real life. So the Navy is going to have a very different playbook than a team like Alabama, for example, and you're going to see that. And the old NCAA games always represented that pretty good as well. They always had the very different playbooks based on what teams do in real life. They always did that better than Madden did it, in my opinion, so we should still expect to see that in the game, which is really what makes the gameplay of NCAA special. Continuing on in the article here, it says, what about the feel of the game from a college football perspective? And it says, while the game will be on the same engine as Madden, it should look and feel different than its NFL counterpart. EA has been gathering sounds, stadium renderings, and more from schools for a while. Holt said all the 2024 uniforms for teams will be in game along with alternate jerseys. O'Brien said they sometimes received over 200 photos of stadiums from schools down to what their seats looked like, along with trophies and statues on campus for in-game replication. Our team was like, this is gold that we can use to make a really authentic looking tradition or aspect of a stadium or program or school. It was wonderful. Moss told ESPN they are pretty close to delivering everything EA needs for the game, and now the video game company is selecting what they need and plan to use before getting it approved by the schools. Moss said the process started with helmets, then stadiums, and then uniforms. Holt wouldn't divulge much on announcers, including whether they would be multiple announced teams and who some of the announcers might be, but we got a little bit of info on that we're going to go over in a minute. EA Sports will reveal more specifics in May, according to Holt. This year's edition, however, is evidently the foundation for what the game will be in future years since they started this from scratch. He said he played a complete game using 2 teams Tuesday morning. He wouldn't say which ones, and that it's got a unique feel. At this point, there's a lot of polishing the development team is still working on to be ready for the summer release, which Holt said is on schedule. So that's a good bit of info, but now let's dive into the announcers, because that's something that we found out on Twitter today, and we found out some really exciting stuff. Some of the people we expected, but even more. So the first person to announce they were in the game today was Kirk Herbstreit. He said, I'm so excited to finally announce that I'm part of EA Sports College Football. I'm proud to be a partner and one of the voices of the game once again, my 14th year in that role. So we know Kirk Herbstreit's back in the game, and I would honestly expect him to maybe be in Madden this year as well. That's not confirmed, but it's just something that, based on some of the rumors we've heard, I would expect. Then shortly after that, we had some more confirmations. David Pollock said, I'm in the game, go Dogs. Then Chris Fowler confirmed that he was in the game, saying, I'm in the game today. I can finally make it official. I am honored to be one of the voices in College Football 25. Wait until you see this game. But it didn't just stop there. Reese Davis also confirmed he was in the game, saying, I'm in the game. What an exciting time for college athletes to finally be in the game with EA Sports College. College Game Day crew is well represented. So that means that College Game Day, which was a rumor, is officially in the game. And already we can see how this is sounding better than Madden, just because we've got multiple announcers. We've got College Game Day. We've got ESPN. We've got so much good stuff represented in this game already, and it's still so early, and we haven't found out all of the exact details yet. Then a little bit later than that, Desmond Howard then came in and said, I'm in the game. I hope to see all my Wolverines in EA Sports College Football. If only I could have been in the game with my Heisman back in the day. So that is another guy now confirming he's in the game, which is huge. We also got something else that I don't know is confirmed, but I would think it is. The Reese's Senior Bowl made a post and they said Senior Bowl mode with a thinking face emoji. EA Sports College Football to EA Madden NFL. The draft starts in Mobile. Now, this isn't a confirmation, but I think the fact that they tweeted this means that the Senior Bowl is going to be in the game. I don't think they would have tweeted this if they were not in the game, especially on today when everybody's confirming that they're in the game. This to me sounds like the Senior Bowl's in the game, which again is huge because it means they're caring about the details here. They're doing all of these things that even Madden is not doing, and this is exciting, and this is exactly what we are expecting of this game. It always cared more about the details and the depth, and we're seeing that they're putting all of that into this game, which is really exciting. Now, in terms of licensing players, people are wondering how many players are going to be in the game. We already know that it's not going to be every single player from every single school. That's just simply not feasible with how many college athletes there are. But what we've learned today is that they're trying to get the likeness of about 85 players per team, which is basically all of the scholarship players, the big name players, the guys that you know about. Those guys are the ones they're trying to get in the game. Obviously, your third string players, they're not going to be in the game unless they're like a big recruit coming in. They might be in the game, but they might also be somebody that gets into the game the following year and not their freshman year. We don't know the exact details, but we do know that it's 85 players per team, which should come out to over 11,000 players, which is the largest NIL deal ever. And they said they're trying to get face scans for as many of these people as possible by using images, not actually scanning them in person, because obviously you can't scan 11,000 people in person. That would just never happen. But the key here is it's on the athletes to opt in. And today the option opt-ins have started to officially go out for all of the players. So the players have to opt in to the game. If they don't opt into the game, they're not going to be in the game. It's just that simple. And I think this could be a little bit of a difficult thing because you're really relying on a lot of young guys, 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds, to opt into a game by a certain deadline. I think they have a couple of months to opt in to officially be in the game, because at some point EA needs time to actually create all these players in the game, and especially if they're trying to get scans for a lot of these players, that's going to take a lot of time to realistically get thousands and thousands of players created in the game, because they can't really create these players until they opt in, because if they don't opt in, then they're just kind of wasting their time. So they're going to need about 2 to 3 months to probably put a lot of these players in. So if they don't opt in by a certain date, they might not be in at launch, but they did say that we should be expecting updates to rosters just like they do in Madden. So if a player opts in late or something like that, or they, there's a walk-on at a school that winds up actually like becoming a really notable player in his first year, and he is a starter and he's kind of making some waves there, that they can get them in an update after getting their likeness later on. So we should still see, that type of stuff happen throughout the year, which is cool. But in order to get as many people in at launch, these guys have to opt in, pretty quickly. So it's going to be on the players to do that on time. Now, if you're still here and you're also interested in the upcoming Madden game that's coming out this summer, we know a bit of news about that so far, and you can check that out right here on the screen.